alongside Pierre Nugent and Pierre. So Nico Iamaleava jumped in the portal last week, and fanfare aside, he is now officially at UCLA. A move which, look, I think Tito Sinceri, who's the first year offensive coordinator there, is going to do well, but he does not have near enough talent around him to be as successful as he was at Tennessee. And the mixed messages coming out of the Iamaleava camp make me a little worried about UCLA and what they're getting themselves into. And Joey Aguilar, who was the quarterback that came from App State, is now in the portal. Tennessee finds himself in need. Hopefully this is for them. I think hopefully this is a match because he's got some experience. He can step in and play. And normally I don't feel bad for gigantic SEC behemoths, but I do feel bad the way this went down for Tennessee, and I admire the way Josh Heupel handled it. But we could see our first kind of like unofficial trade if Joey Aguilar just goes to Tennessee.
Yeah, and wouldn't that be a story? That would just be an unbelievable story if he ends up at Tennessee. But you and I talked about this on this very show last week. We mentioned some of the teams that we thought Nico could be a potential fit for. But if memory serves me right, at the end of our conversation, all roads were leading back to UCLA. It almost felt like a bad kept secret at that point in terms of where Nico might end up. And lo and behold, he is in UCLA. And the one thing I was listening to, I forget, and I wish I could remember so I can give this person credit for speaking about it on the air when I was watching one of the shows, and I don't remember on which network, but
that's far.
So much forgiveness. Wait, did you say forgiveness like far or forgiveness like forgiveness? Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness.
I'm hearing far.
Forgiveness. Like forgiveness. Forgiveness? Forgiveness.
I'm still hearing far, but whatever.
Introducing Stealth 2 with more carbon for more forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Just hit it.
Somebody pointed out the fact that, if Nico, whatever money Nico is getting, he is now going to be taxed a lot more heavily going to UCLA because those California taxes spare absolutely no one. And I'm a victim of that. I would know all about that growing up there the majority of my lives. And that, honestly, Paul, that thought that came in my head was, I didn't really even take it into consideration that that's another wrinkle to NIL that somebody would have to think of. Instead of going to a prestigious school like USC, for example, would you go there knowing that? Because let's be honest, if you're making in between $2 and $4 million in Southern California, $2 to $4 million, while it sounds like a lot of money to us, doesn't go necessarily all that far. And if you're a college kid getting taxed on $2.5 million in California, as opposed to maybe going to Florida or Texas or somewhere else in the South in particular, suddenly I'm like, well, I don't really care what kind of tradition you have over at USC. I want to keep my money. I didn't really think about that whole process myself when it started.
Look, Stuart Mandel tweeted out what you'd have to make to maintain your lifestyle, and he has to make more. Well, he's not going to make more at UCLA. He's going to make less.
Yeah.
Before taxes, he's going to make less because they don't have that kind of NIL fund for this. Now, granted, this is coming with revenue sharing, so he might be able to get close, and they might give him a nice rev share deal. But he was going to have more NIL plus rev share on top of it at Tennessee because he'd already agreed to the NIL contract. So He was going to get rev share no matter what. So he was going to be making more money in Tennessee no matter what. And so it's just such a strange decision to me to not to try to get more money, but to try to get more money from a place you're already getting a lot of money from. You've only had one full year as a starter, and you're draft eligible in a year. Buddy, just write it out. Be on TV, be on national TV every single week, which UCLA is going to have more games than they won't that are, digital only right now.
It reeks of a short-sighted decision.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's what it reeks of. It reeks of a short-sighted decision. And, obviously I'm not in the circle, in Nico's circle. So I don't want to talk too much about what's going on in that circle, but from the outside looking in, and I can only go off of what I know and what I see in the news, is it doesn't really appear that there's a good circle in his ear about this very situation that he's put himself in. And it's a shame because we all saw what kind of a player he was at Tennessee. And we all think that he's only going to get better. But like you just said, going into your draft eligible year, I'm not sure why this move makes sense for you both professionally and to some degree financially.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pierre, NFL draft is this week in Green Bay.
One of my favorite times of year. You know this. I live for this.
I love it too. I love it. What do you think the Vikings have to get done in the first 2 days of the draft?
Well, first and foremost, I think everybody would like to see from the Vikings is them trade out, because they actually are the team with the fewest amount of picks in this year's draft. They only have 4 total picks. One of them came by way of compensatory. So even before that, they only had 3, but now they've got a total of 4. They sit at number 24 overall in the first round. You have, if I'm Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, I'm doing anything I possibly can to try to trade down and acquire more capital. And if he has to trade out of the first round entirely, I would be perfectly okay with that, because reading the consensus on a lot of the guys in this draft, particularly the first round, from pick number 10 to pick number 32, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of differentiating factors. It's just about who you like, who might fit your scheme better, who maybe you like a little bit more than others watching tape. But the differences sound razor thin from about 10 to 32. So I don't think the Vikings necessarily need to stay in the first round. I would be absolutely ecstatic for them if they traded out of the first round and acquired more draft capital. However, if they stay at 24, I have been banging the table for over a month now for Nick Iamaleava to be the newest member of the Minnesota Vikings. I think he would be an asset that Brian Flores could absolutely maximize in his defense. You lose Cam Bynum to Indianapolis. Harrison Smith is quite long in the tooth, albeit he's still playing great football, but he's not going to be playing great football forever. So you have to find a solution there at the safety position. That would be my first observation for the Vikings.
Well, that's a good spot to pick a safety where they are. So I wouldn't look if Nicky Iamaleava goes first. I also wouldn't sneeze at Malachi Starks. I think he's a fantastic player, but that's a good spot for them. To do that. I would like. What are they doing at running back right now? Aaron Jones is back, right? And
Aaron Jones is back, and they traded for Trey Mason, actually, from the Niners. They traded for him, so he's going to come in and be the RB2, but I think he's going to have a role. I mean, if you watched his game film from when Christian McCaffrey was down, I believe it was 3 straight weeks of over 100 yards on the ground, if memory serves me right, but he had a very productive 5 or 6 weeks of football filling in for Christian McCaffrey, really showing that he can be, I don't know about, your RB1, but a guy who's certainly capable of being productive in this league, whether he's your first running back or your second running back. So that's the plan right now with Aaron Jones, I believe. And Aaron Jones signed a 2-year deal. So Aaron Jones and Trey Mason, those are your 1 and 2 right now. Ty Chandler is still on this roster. So running back, I wouldn't put it past him to add a running back maybe in the later rounds. It's obviously a deep running back class, but that wouldn't exactly be my top priority for this team.
I don't think, it does. I'm just curious about that because it is a deep running back draft. And so they could, in the 4th round, get a guy like Devin Neal out of Kansas, who I really like, that I think would fit. He reminds me a lot of Aaron Jones in his game. Really well. I'm a little like I find myself the Big 12 has all these great running backs, and we talked to almost all of them, right, Garrett?
I think we haven't got Scatterboo. That's about it.
Scatterboo, and he wasn't there.
Yeah, because he wasn't there.
And he wasn't there. So no offense to all the rest of them, but Scatterboo is the one I wanted the most. And look, let's face it, I'm kind of a Scattabitch. I'm a fan. Or maybe I just should be like, instead of that, I should be like the Scataboos, hey boo, because I do have a huge football crush on that guy. But we talked to all of them when we at Big 12 Pro Day, and this is a really good running back league. So I find myself a little biased towards it, especially if you're in those middle rounds and you're looking for one. Like, there are guys that'll fit, Taj Brooks and Devin Neal and Corey Kiner and some really, really interesting players there. I love the draft, but I anxiously await it on Thursday night, but I am terrified the Cowboys are going to do something that just goes, okay. they're usually good in the first round. The second round has been a black hole for them recently. And then the third round, they're good at. So the first part of day 2, I know they're going to do something really dumb historically. The second part of day 2, they're going to get a guy like Cooper Beebe, who I'm like, oh, I love this dude. Yeah. And like, oh, you made up for that stupid thing in the second round. Like, you didn't lead Luke Schoonmaker. What are you talking about drafting the tight end in the second round? Like,
right.
Are you crazy? You got to and you not notice your running backs are falling apart 2 years ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
But no. They don't bring me in to help with these things.
No, of course not. Why would they?
Nor will they. Like, I know this, Pierre. The Dolphins and Cowboys will never call us up and be like, listen, you've got 1 year to prove us wrong. They'll never do it.
No,
they'll never do it.
No, because they're scared. Because they know we would. Because they know I would take care. We would take care of those franchises in one felt swoop. We wouldn't need a year. Give me 1 month, and I'll have that ship in the right direction.
Yeah. And like, here's my thing. Like, all right, do I get an everybody sit down and shut up clause? Like, everybody sit down and shut up. I've got 1 year before you guys fire me or build a statue. Like, those are the things. I would love that. That's a move. We should make that movie.
Absolutely. I just watched Draft Day like last week for like the 40th time. And I'm thinking to myself, what would that? Yeah, that's a good. Now we have another concept here too. What would happen if we just took over ownership? We've seen the movies where, Little Big League, where he took over as the manager of the Twins. We've seen Rookie of the Year. We've seen kids in these roles, and they seem to excel rather well in these roles, according to cinema. So why wouldn't an adult man of our age thrive in the role of taking over, maybe not the ownership role, but at bare minimum, CEO, president of football operations type role?
So have you ever seen the very underrated Richard Pryor movie, Brewster's Millions?
I have not, actually.
Okay. I'll like next time you've got some free time and there's nothing else going on. It's a very funny movie. The premise of the movie is that Richard Pryor he's like a minor league, like independent league baseball player. His catcher is played by John Candy. And he finds out that he has his grandfather, who's played by Hume Cronin, has passed away. And they bring him into this bank, and he says his whole goal is to where he has 30 days to spend $30 million, and then he'll inherit $300 million. Because he wants him to hate spending money and hate all of it. So the whole movie is him over this month trying, he can't, and at the end of it, he can't have $1. He has to spend all of it. He can't have $1 to his name. He can't own anything. So he has to rent all of it. Okay. He has to rent all of it. He has to so he can't buy a house. He can't buy furniture. He can't, he can give so much to charity and he can give so much to his friends, but he cannot everything he has to do is, so people the movie's hilarious. He comes in, people just come in with these ridiculous investment opportunities. He's like, go do it here, and then it's very funny. And
I have to put that on the list.
Yeah. So here's the premise. We take Draft Day and Brewster's Millions and we shove them together. Yeah. And here's what we have. We have an eccentric, crazy owner with no heirs, which exists in real life in the NFL. It's Mark Davis. Mark Davis has no heirs. Yeah. There's no there is a good chance that a stripper is going to inherit the Raiders. That's a really good chance. Or it's going to be one of those out of the woodwork, turns out.
Long law DNA test 23andMe have provided that. Oh my God, Mark Davis.
Well, that's going to happen. Or what ultimately is going to happen is that, when he gets sick, they're going to move it into a receivership or, whatever.
Sure.
But it's not going to happen. But he doesn't have any heirs. He doesn't. And at this point in his life, I don't think he's going to have any. As a matter of fact, I think it's part of the thing is when he has these women in his life, it's contingent on, we're not having any, you're in this for one thing. And I get it because of my haircut. It's fine. we're using each other. But let's just say that eccentric owner dies and then gives it to like the loudest podcasting enthusiast fan,
right?
Of that has like a bunch of followers. It's like,
or season ticket holder or something like
I
that.
am willing the team to this guy. And he that loves the team more than anyone. I hated him because he was always riding me for how it was. But I've come to realize as I die, the only person who can run this team is this guy. Yeah. I think, Andrew, clip this and save it. We are pitching this movie written by Paul and Peter, or executive produced. We'll hire a screenwriter. We'll hire a screenwriter.
Definitely hire a screenwriter.
We're going to hire a screenwriter, but then you and I are going to be moguls, my friend.
Oh, absolutely.
And
these are how movie pitches go. A lot of times in these movie pitches, they'll take two movies and be like, we're going to think about this one, and like, we're going to sprinkle that. We're going to marry these two films or have some kind of narrow pathway to like kind of allow you to see how these two concepts would work well together. They use examples from previous movies all the time.
Yeah.
All the time when they're pitching movies.
Like, I think this would be like a good vehicle for like a Jack Black, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this could be a Vince Vaughn thing, quite possibly.
Vince Vaughn, I think, would be great for a movie like that. Would the owner could leave the team to that individual out of spite as well, thinking like, oh, you think it's really easy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, you think this is easy? Or how about unbeknownst to you, I'm leaving you the team. And as I'm dead and I'm looking at you from the heavens, I'm going to be laughing at your ass for screwing up the team because you think it's so easy.
Yeah. And then he can have all these people trying to make sure they wrestle a team away from him, like Mr. Deeds. Like, it's maybe more like it's like a Mr. Deeds thing. Yeah. You know, like all these people trying to make sure that they get the team. Oh,
absolutely. The one condition that we have to make, though, is the movie will not be made about the New York Jets. No, that will not. That will not be the team.
I think that it would be hilarious if it was made about the Cowboys.
Oh, it should be.
But I don't know if Jerry would agree to that at all.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we could. Oh, there goes my microphone. I loosened that up for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sure Jerry wouldn't love it, but
but all press is good press.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know we could definitely come back to this at some point. Well, we have I knew we were talking about the draft. I just wanted to get your opinion on one player and one player only, because over the last like week or so, I've been doing that internet meme where they say like nobody, and then here comes you, and in this case, I'm the you in this meme, and I think to myself, I've been thinking a lot about Quinn Ewers lately and why nobody seems to want to discuss where Quinn Ewers should go. And is he being overlooked? And the funny thing is like, I don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to be an NFL caliber starting quarterback. I have my reservations about it, but at the same time, I hear people talk about it as if, no, that definitely couldn't happen. He's no better than a 5th round pick, maybe a 4th rounder. And I'm thinking to myself, going into the season, Quinn Ewers was pretty heavily touted and he fought through injury. And I'm not really sure why he's not being discussed as potentially the 3rd quarterback in this draft.
I'll tell you why. It's because of the injuries. It's because of that. Like, he's never playing healthy.
Yeah, that's valid.
So I think that he's going to be a guy who's probably the 4th or 5th quarterback taken. He's got this laser rocket arm. He has a ton of wins, but Garrett and I talk about this all the time. I don't think we've ever seen Quinn Ewers play a season where he's not hurting.
He literally has not been healthy since his sophomore year at South Lake Carroll.
Yeah, absolutely. Very fair. And I know that's going to be the chatter primarily when you're talking about him. But, you know, in this quarterback class, to be honest with you, the entire quarterback class from top to bottom, and I'm including Cam and Shedeur in this, I'm not fully sold on any of them. Like Cam, I think probably has the highest ceiling, but I'm not fully convinced that any quarterback in this year's class is going to emerge as a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. I think with the right coaching, Shedeur is interesting, but I'm not sold on any of these guys. And when I say I'm not sold on it, I'm saying I'm not so sure I would use a 1st round draft pick on any of these guys.
No, I like Cam Ward. I'm relatively sold on Shedeur, and the reason being is like Shadeur's never played with a good offensive line. He had two. He had a freshman All-American at center who's gone, and then he has Jordan Seaton, who's actually very much doubled down and is staying. So yeah, I'm big on Shedeur. Okay, so next week will be the last one that we do for a little bit, me and you, Pierre. And I'm gonna, which means you've got to get your Seinfeld reference in.
Yes, I do. Yes,
I
have not forgotten about that. By the way, that's still I'm trying to work.
You're not Penske material.
No, I'm not.
You're not Penske material. You got to get that in before next week. And two, we're going to talk Amazing Race on the last one.
Yeah.
And what Amanda and I do is we watch the current one and we've gone back and watched old ones. We are now to the era pre-HD TV, which is a little difficult. Now
but that's when the show I think was at like. The
thing is they didn't have all the things. Like we just saw the first double U-turn, which took a victim of my least favorite player of all time, Chad. Chad and Stephanie, who is a thunder douche, who went to the University of Florida and was douchey the whole time, like a babe, shut up, I got this. That guy can't stand that guy.
Yeah, right.
He's that dude, and his name is Chad. And so thrilling to watch him get plucked by the double U-turn. But I do want to talk about that kind of guy in the race and how they never win. And how I wonder when they watch back, are they like, oh.
You got the current race? You're talking about the current race.
There's a guy on the current race that's a little bit like that. He's a little more.
My fiance has yelled at the TV multiple times. Don't you worry. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure she has. Yeah. Because he's like nice, and then something will happen, and then he's just awful. You're like, and this is the couple they were like separated for a little while, and you're like, no, I get it.
Yeah,
I would
totally understand.
I got it. No.
The wife is delightful. She's great. The guy, as Frank Costanza once said, this is not my kind of guy. Nah.
All right, Pierre, we'll see you next week. This is the Triple Option. We're running over. See you later.